going in with or without your help.
It's right there!
During the early stages of the Ukraine-Russia war, former Navy SEAL turned CIA operator Michael Connor is alone in his Barcelona apartment drinking his life away, his scar-ridden body a testimony to his experience in war. Suddenly he gets a video call from his niece Riley, an aid worker in Ukraine, who is about to be captured. The men burst in and her phone falls, and Michael sees the face of their leader, Stanislav Koniev, a ruthless mercenary leader, before the call ends. Right away Connor calls his CIA contact Charlie, telling him about the incident with Riley. He demands a way into Kiev to track her down himself. Charlie tries to talk reason into him, advising him that Riley will probably be held for ransom, and they can get her then, but Connor is having none of that. Either Connor gets him a flight in, or he'll find a way himself. Hearing Connor's determination, Charlie relents and asks for a few minutes to get things sorted out for him. He also plans to look into the identity of the mercenary leader that Connor managed to get a screenshot of. Later that night Connor's gear is all packed when Charlie calls with good news. There's a team heading into Kiev to do an extraction, so Connor will hitch a ride with them. He'll also be provided with a SAT phone, which has Riley's smartwatch location preloaded. He won't have any backup and Charlie warns that he'll be on his own, but Riley is all that Connor has left in this world, and he plans to do anything it takes to get her back. In Kiev, Koniev brutally kills a young security guard with a blade, a scene solely to show how cold and heartless he is. The next morning Connor meets the extraction team at a hangar, and they soon lift off. As they near Kiev, the team leader Roberts hands Connor his SAT phone, then reveals he and his team will be extracting billionaire Yuri Chenkov and his wife for £2 million each. He then suggests that if either of them run into each other's targets, then maybe they could work together and share intel, and Connor agrees. They land, and Roberts and his team head out in their convoy. Charlie calls with Stanislav's identity, revealing he's former GRU with a trail of bodies and horror stories behind him, and Connor is looking forward to meeting him. Charlie's on-the-ground contact Danny soon arrives, his loud and chatty nature in stark contrast to Connor's own, but Charlie advises that he's a stand-up guy. Not long into the journey, though, their car gets cut off and blocked in by members of the Ukrainian mafia, who hold them at gunpoint and force them out of the vehicle. Danny talks to the leader in Ukrainian, trying to defuse the situation, but the man is more focused on Connor. He demands Connor empty his pockets and hand over his SAT phone, but Connor outright refuses. Before the tension can spill over, though, Connor offers up his watch, a handcrafted Swiss timepiece worth over $10,000. He hands it to the leader, but instead of just taking it, he aims his gun at Connor. Big mistake. Connor swiftly disarms him and kills him and all his men.
Should've took the watch.
He and Danny quickly escape the scene. Danny takes them back to his home, where his wife Anna and 2 kids are in hiding. She doesn't like the energy coming off Connor, but Danny reassures her he is just looking for his niece. At that moment, Danny sees news reporters of Russian troops capturing a town nearby, forcing Ukrainian military to initiate a curfew. Anyone caught outside not in a Ukrainian uniform will be shot on sight. Connor cannot just sit around doing nothing, suggesting they get uniforms, but Danny refuses. Everything he is doing is to get his family safe passage out of Kiev as per his agreement with Charlie, but Connor also makes it clear that he will do anything for his family as well. Danny still doesn't back down. Navigating Kiev takes more than just GPS, so Connor will need his help, and he refuses to leave until morning. Danny then shows him an arsenal of weapons, reminding him he's not afraid, just cautious. We then catch up with Koniev again, who is ordered by his superior to prepare the hostage to be transported into Russia, but Koniev has one more target to find, someone he calls the Pig. Connor spends the night preparing his weapons and gear. He contacts Charlie, who has already learnt of the takeover and curfew. To make things even worse, Langley has predicted Kiev to fall within days. The sound of shelling then interrupts the conversation, and Danny rushes in telling him the curfew has been lifted, and all able-bodied men have been ordered to report for service. This is their chance to move, so Danny says goodbye to his wife, and they quickly jump into his car and take off as the shelling continues around them. They start tracking Riley, but the signal keeps bouncing around. Along the way, Connor tells him about Riley's dad, a soldier like himself who was taken out by an IED. His wife couldn't handle the stress alone, so Connor stepped in and took charge of Riley, and she became like a daughter to him. Suddenly they drive right into a squad of Russians and are forced to reverse as gunshots riddle the car, but then the Russians are all gunned down by a Ukrainian assault team, who simply continue on. They are saved, but the car is totaled. They have to continue on foot, so Connor calls Charlie, who starts tracking him via satellite. They need to continue on foot, and Charlie warns that his path will take him along the front lines, but Connor has no time to look for an alternative, and he and Danny start moving on foot. Not long into the walk, they come upon an area littered with the bodies of dead soldiers, and know they may be facing trouble real soon. So said, so done, they come under heavy gunfire from a squad of Russians. But with some expert sharpshooting from Danny and Connor, they drop a few and send the others running. Connor chases and guns down the two survivors, but Danny is pinned down by gunfire from a responding Ukrainian team. He yells to them he's Ukrainian, which gets them to hold their fire. Connor returns, and there's a standoff, until they're forced to work together to gun down a few Russian soldiers. Realizing they're on the same side, the tension dissipates, and realizing they're headed in the same direction, they decide to travel together. They meet up with a larger squad who has taken some young Russian soldiers hostage, but the leader swiftly guns them down, having no time to take prisoners. They have no time to rest, as a few seconds later they're under attack once more and forced into a brutal gun battle where many on both sides begin to fall. Kiev and his team soon pick up American radio chatter near the front lines. They play it back, and it's Connor's conversation with Charlie. Kiev mistakenly identifies them as the team sent to extract the pig, who turns out to be the billionaire Yuri. Kiev wants the entire area carpet-bombed, ignoring the fact that his own troops are fighting there. On the ground, Connor sees the Russians retreating, and a few seconds later shells begin raining down on the entire forest. Connor and Danny decide to start moving, leaving the Ukrainian team behind, who get decimated by the shelling. Connor and Danny get thrown to the ground by a nearby explosion, but manage to get back on their feet,
Gotta go.
until another blast knocks them down and out. Connor wakes a while later to see Danny already up, and is devastated to learn that he's been out almost the entire day. Despite Danny urging him to take it easy, Connor drags himself to his feet, and seeing that they're closer to Riley's location, he decides to push on. By morning they get to Kharkiv, only to see it already smoldering from bombardment and people desperately trying to leave the city. Connor can see that Danny is seething and urges him to get himself together, as the rage will make him sloppy. Danny doesn't care, adamant that there's good and bad and they are the victims. Connor, however, feels a bit different, as seeing the young Russians get gunned down blurs the line between good and bad. Danny thinks he's just lecturing from his high horse when his own country feeds and profits from war. As the two continue to walk and talk, they suddenly come face to face with a tank and quickly take cover in a building until the danger has passed. They get back onto the street when two attack drones pick them up and begin hunting them, but the first one crashes and they manage to shoot down the second. Danny runs into some locals, and unable to leave them, as there he gives them some of his rations. Connor picks up Riley's signal, so they start moving again. They get close to the signal by nightfall. They hear screams nearby, and run to check it out, only to see some soldiers attacking some civilians. Danny is unable to just walk away, so seeing his resolve, Connor decides to take care of it for him. With a blade, Connor moves in with fluid movements and strikes, and in no time all the men lay dead on the ground. Connor and Danny then rescue the surviving mother and her son, and take refuge inside an abandoned apartment. She wonders what will become of them, and Danny promises to get her to safety. Connor pulls him aside. He cannot afford to waste another second, and needs to keep moving if they're to save Riley. Danny can't just leave the civilians, wondering what Riley would think of him, but Connor prefers to ask her when he sees her. Unable to come to an agreement, the two part ways. Connor finds the building where Riley's location last pinged, and is greeted by a litter of dead bodies, Ukrainians, Russians, and hostages. There's no sign of Riley, but Connor spots a dead soldier wearing her watch. The discovery hits him deep, and he begins fearing the worst, but gathers himself. There's still hope if there isn't a body. He contacts Charlie asking for any bit of intel that could point him in a direction, but Charlie has heard nothing regarding Riley, just that the Ukrainians are planning to take back the city. He then hears gunfire echoing nearby and starts heading there, and it's Danny caught up in an intense gun battle protecting the civilians. Connor gets to him, and they hold the Russians back until they're all gunned down by Roberts and his team. They regroup with the mother and son, and continue pushing on. Danny knows Connor coming back is bad for Riley, but Connor reveals she is gone. They clear a pub, and Roberts pours his team a drink and makes a toast to their success. Roberts learns that Connor has had no success finding Riley, then reveals that Yuri is being held close by, and there may be some foreign nationals with him. Suddenly a Ukrainian team bursts into the building, and there's a standoff until Danny and the civilian explain they're on the same side. We then see Emily being held in a cell along with another young woman, trying to convince her they need to fight as no one is coming to save them. A few hours later, the Ukrainian team takes the civilians and moves out, so Connor, Danny, and Robert's team prepare to advance. They start moving through the dark streets when they hear drones approaching and quickly dodge into a building. They reunite with Robert's scout, who reveals they're completely surrounded by troops, technicals, and snipers. Danny then reveals there are tunnels running underneath the city that they could use, and despite being skeptical of traps, they don't have much choice but to take the chance. Danny leads them to the basement of the building, breaks through a metal door, and starts moving through a tunnel, ensuring they check each corner carefully. They soon come upon a walled-off door directly below their target building. As Robert's team lay charges, Connor calls Danny aside. He then calls Charlie to set up extraction for the team, rescues, and Danny's family. Afterwards, Connor refuses to let Danny come any further, demanding that he stay alive for his family. Danny is reluctant to leave Connor at this point, but Connor doesn't want his and his family's blood on his hands, and Danny agrees. A few seconds later, the team blow their way through the wall. Meanwhile, Koniev enters Riley's cell, wondering which of the two he'll have his way with. He picks the other girl. Riley tries to fight them off, but Koniev then notices her tattoo and grabs her, demanding to know who she is as there's intel that someone is looking for a girl with her tattoo. He's then alerted to an attack on one of his squads, so he plans to deal with her later. Connor, Roberts, and the team clear their way to their target location, and Connor decides to split from the team to look for Riley. He encounters a few hostiles, but eliminates them all before coming across Riley. He breaks her out of the cell, and the two share a brief hug before they need to move again. Koniev orders all his squads to gather at his location. Connor, Riley, and the other female hostage start moving. Connor encounters a steady stream of attackers, bullets flying right next to him, but he manages to evade and eliminate everyone who crosses his path. Roberts and his team are engaged in an intense gun battle, contacts appearing from every angle, but they continue to push towards Yuri, only to find him already dead. They're forced to retreat under heavy gunfire. Connor continues to look for a way out when Koniev suddenly attacks him. The fight is brutal, but Koniev has the faster hands and Connor soon finds himself on the ground. Despite this, he fights back, managing to overpower Koniev for a minute. Some Russians burst in, but Riley lays down cover fire, allowing him to escape. They meet up with Roberts and his team and begin a tactical retreat.
Reloading!
But they walk right into a machine gunner who pins them down until Connor takes him out with a grenade. They manage to make it to the street, but here they encounter a large force of soldiers. Koniev also makes it to the street, and realizing Robert's sniper is dropping his men like flies, he hits the spot with a rocket launcher. Roberts loses another man, and just as they become overrun by the sheer number of soldiers, Danny shows up in an SUV. Two soldiers load Riley and the other rescue into the car and take off, but they drive right into gunfire, and one soldier and the female rescue are killed on the spot. To make things worse, Charlie learns that the chopper meant for evac was diverted, leaving the team to a grim fate. Danny pulls Riley from the car, taking cover from the incoming fire. Roberts watches as another one of his men is gunned down, but Connor snaps him out of it as they need to move. Danny does well to hold off the attackers before Connor and Roberts meet up with him with multiple hostiles on their rear, led by Coney. Roberts' last teammate gets taken out, and he gets hit in the leg, while Koniev manages to hit Connor in the arm. Things are not looking good for the survivors as Koniev seems to have an endless supply of soldiers to throw at them. At that moment, a tank rolls onto the scene. The turret turns and Connor braces for impact, but the tank fires on Koniev and his men, taking him out. The next morning, a frantic Charlie gets a call from Connor, who reveals they survived and are headed home. Danny is in uniform, ready to deploy with the army to defend his home. Connor reassures him his family will be taken care of, and that's all Danny needed to hear before leaving for the front lines with Connor and Riley looking on. That's it for today's recap. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more insane movie stories. YouTube thinks you'll love the video on screen, so click to enjoy.